what the Falcons do, we rise up. We're going to have to because this was terrible. Welcome to Rise Up Reactions, the show we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports, and in general the sports news of the day. I'm your host, Dr. Lee Denning, the Golden Hard Dog, and a lifelong sports fan. Oh, baby. So if you did not join me last night, which I know many of you did not for my live stream of the NFL Draft, I actually cut it early at about pick 17 just because I was so distraught over this. The Falcons with the number 8 overall selection in the 2024 draft just completely blew the minds of America, every YouTube streamer, every analyst, anybody that's not named Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot had their minds blown. Even Arthur Blank, if you go back now, I didn't see it at the time, but you go back and look, Terry Fontenot legitimately looks like he is a man who is having to defend his job and not get fired on the spot by Arthur Blank in the war room that they were showing immediately after. I've had a chance to go back and watch that, and Arthur Blank does not look happy, and he owns the freaking team. But you take Michael Penix Jr., obviously there are some issues with this. First off, let's talk about the fact that Michael Penix Jr. he's a solid quarterback. He's a lefty, a little weird, but he's a lefty. He has probably the most accuracy in the draft. He has a great zip on the ball. He's a very good quarterback, but I've been off of him ever since I watched him play in the national championship. I watch players, and I watch just to see if I feel like they have it, and he was never a guy that I felt like had it after that game. I thought he might have it before. He never had it after, and that was one of my big problems with him is that against solid competition, he took too many sacks, he held on to the ball too long. I didn't like what I saw, and those are things that are coachable and you can get out of. Especially going into the NFL. But the Falcons have elected to do a 2021, I think it was 2020-2021 Packers decision and have a good quarterback on the roster. Not a Hall of Famer like they did, but have a good quarterback on the roster and then take a guy to sit behind him for years and hope that he works out. Now, apparently, Michael Penix has done really well in the pre-draft process. He has been great in interviews. He's impressed Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris. But in the press conference last night afterwards, I got a chance to watch it this morning. You would think that they were on the hot seat trying to defend their jobs, trying to defend this decision, and they were not selling it adequately to anybody. They're still not selling it adequately to anybody. Talking about, it's a good problem to have if Michael Penix Jr. sits for 4 to 5 years. Hell no, that's not a good decision. That's not a good decision. This is a man who on May 8th is going to be 24 years old as a rookie going into the NFL. That means that with the $180 million contract to Kirk Cousins, we're going to owe him $100 million. We owe him the first 65 of that, actually a little bit more. I think the first 65 or 70 of that. We owe him that over the first 2 years of the deal. So we're going to owe him somewhere in the neighborhood of $30-odd million going into year 3 of his contract. No matter what, even if we cut him, we're going to take a dead cap hit of about $30 million, which is not as bad as we've done in the past, but it's still a hard pill to swallow down the line. But you're talking about a minimum. He is going to minimum 2 years unless Kirk Cousins gets hurt, that this guy is going to start as our quarterback, de facto quarterback of the future. So this is a move that has a chance to get you fired if it doesn't pan out in year 1 of whenever he gets to start. Or if the Falcons continue to suck and end up drafting in the top 10 perennially again. We have turned into the freaking Las Vegas Raiders in terms of, what they've been in the past, just drafting guys that go fast or drafting guys that are, reaches and prospects. It just feels like we don't know what this team is going to do. Terry Fontenot, I want to have faith in him, but he has done some really, really questionable moves in the recent past, and it's driving me nuts. We passed on Rome Odunze. We passed on every edge rusher that we still need and could have done well with in the draft. We passed on any corners. We passed on offensive tackles to replace Jake Matthews one day, and now we got to talk about the right tackle because I've said this before. Michael Penix is a lefty. That means that his blind side is going to be protected. Assuming he has to come in the next 2 years, he's going to be protected by Caleb McGarry on the right side. Caleb McGarry is god-awful at pass block. He's good at run block. He's awful at pass block. Has not been good at any point in time, period. End of story. in pass blocking, and you have now set your future to be behind him. Let's talk about Michael Penix Jr.'s injury history. 2 ACL repairs. We saw what that did to a guy, and again, running backs get a lot more wear and tear on them here, but we saw what that did to a guy like Todd Gurley, who ended up retiring before the age of 30. Michael Penix is already 24. He's going to be 26 minimum before he is expected to be the starting quarterback, possibly 27 with 2 years to evaluate. He's going to be an old rookie. He's already going to be a guy who should be in the prime of his NFL career. To put that in perspective, C.J. Stroud is 22 years old right now. By the time he's 27, he'll have 6 NFL seasons under his belt. Almost every other guy here is younger as well, except for Bo Nix. They're all going to have much longer projected careers than Penix is. They're talking about, you got Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris sitting out there talking about, well, it's a good problem if he doesn't play for 4 or 5 years. 4 or 5 years, we got to talk about if we're going to re-sign him or not. This is not a good problem to have. They have backed themselves into an awful corner, and they didn't have to. The analogy I've been making is that this is a game of checkers. It truly was checkers. This was not chess. It is checkers. And instead of just even trying to play some chess moves, they have gone to 4D chess and tried to plan for the future of all futures for the Falcons, and you didn't need to do that. We are win now with the moves that they've made. We've emptied out the cap space. All we freaking needed to do is try and take an edge or a corner, or even I'd be okay with Byron Murphy, defensive interior. I think he's the best defensive interior in the draft. I think you could have sold me on that move. Wouldn't have been my favorite, but you could have sold me on any move that was not Michael Penix Jr. I actually made a joke in the stream that I was going to go the Tom Grossi route and sit in the bathtub with a toaster oven if we ended up drafting Michael Penix Jr., which, again, I was just laughing that off. There was no way we were going to do that. And to be fair, 6 quarterbacks went off the board in this draft in the first 12 picks, which is unheard of. But I think that's partly because the Falcons picked Michael Penix Jr. Yeah, I know they contribute to it, but I think that a lot of teams were like, oh my God, there's only 2 quarterbacks that are even possibly worthy of starting right now left. We have to go ahead and take them. So you had the Vikings trading up. We were in a prime position to trade with either the Vikings or the Denver Broncos, who ended up doing it as well. Denver got the guy that I think they wanted the whole time without having to do a freaking thing. So, yeah, I think if Michael Penix didn't go where he went to us, he's either a Las Vegas Raider or he's still sitting on the board waiting to get drafted. Or somebody trades into the back end of the first round to take him. We reached. There's no other way to put it. We have reached on a quarterback. I have no problem with Penix Jr. He is on our team. I say it all the time. He is now an Atlanta Falcon, and I hope this works out. I hope that he plays well. I genuinely hope that this works out for the best, that everything that Terry Fontenot hopes to come to fruition does, and that we're not picking in the top even 16 for years to come, because that means we probably are making playoffs. We're probably making playoff runs. We're building a winning culture. But God dang, we have not sniffed the playoffs since 2017, and they're talking about making picks for the future. Make picks now! We need to win now! It has been years. We've never hosted a playoff game in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and you want to talk about making a pick for the future? No, make the pick now. Worry about the quarterback position later. We've already hitched the wagon to Kirk Cousins, and again, if Michael Penix has to come in and play this year, guess what? Everything gets flipped for the offensive line. Everything gets flipped for everybody. You're going to have to learn a new offensive scheme in the course of a week or two to be competitive in this league, because everything is now it's geared towards a left-handed quarterback. I don't have words to describe beyond that how angry I am. My soul left my body last night. I was following along with PFF, and PFF was like 4 or 5 minutes ahead of the draft. I don't know what sources they have inside the war rooms of everybody or inside the green rooms or wherever they're making these picks, but somebody back there was leaking everything, and I knew 4 or 5 minutes before the pick. So if you want to go watch this, feel free to go watch my live stream. You do not have to watch the entire thing. Pick up at about an hour and 21 minutes in for me to see my soul leave my body and have no reaction, no response, because I didn't want to spoil it completely for everybody else. They knew, the people watching knew that I was angry. They knew I was frustrated. They didn't know why. But at a minute 26 is about when the pick actually comes in, and watch me lose my ever-loving mind in an even more crazy manner than I am now. Again, Falcons. This is a move that I am not happy about. I'm losing faith in this team. I love this team. I love my city. I love my state. I'm losing faith in the ownership and the management of this team. Something's got to give. They didn't even tell Kirk Cousins. So this is exactly like what happened with Aaron Rodgers, where he was blindsided on the clock at the moment for this pick. And you can't tell me Kirk Cousins is obviously he's got to be disappointed. They've talked to him since, and they said that conversation is private, but his agent has let the world know that Kirk is not happy with this pick. And I don't blame him. I'd be upset too. I don't blame the Falcons for having a succession plan. I blame them for having this succession plan. Now, let's talk real quick about guys that are still on the board. Panthers are going to be the first team to pick here going into the second round. Panthers need a bunch. They need not the Panthers. The Bills are going to be the first team to pick. I thought the Panthers were picking. I don't know what happened there. I guess they traded. I don't even actually know. Did the Panthers come back in? Okay, Panthers moved up. I didn't even see that. They moved up to take Xavier Legette. Fine, whatever. Who gives a crap? But the Bills are going to be picking in the number 1 overall in the second round. And guys that are available here, you still have Cooper DeJean, who is probably going to go. Can't believe he's still on the board, but corner from Iowa, he's probably going to go to them. You have some defensive interior guys. You have Adonai Mitchell. You have the guy that we probably should take next is going to be Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama for a corner. He's the guy that we still probably could really, really use there. You have Lad McConkey from Georgia at wide receiver. You have guys that make sense for us to take. Shane Ristel from Michigan at corner. He's also got a pretty high grade here. So there are guys that make sense. There's not really many in the way of edge rushers. I guess Isaac out of Penn State is still viewed as the 4th best edge rusher or 4th best guy remaining at edge rusher for PFF here. So I just don't know much about these guys. I won't be live streaming the draft tonight. I will be hanging out with another Falcons friend and trying to commiserate together. This has been a disappointing draft. This is an F- pick until further notice. F-. It is embarrassing to get an F. It is embarrassing more so to get an F-. And I can't speak any more poorly about this draft pick than I already have. Actually, I take that back. I could, but it's not suitable for most viewers on YouTube. I'm frustrated. I'm upset. This video should not get flagged, so hopefully everybody can see it. But my gosh, I am beyond words. I'm truly beyond words on how this genuinely makes me feel. I've said words, they don't even cover what I'm truly feeling on the inside. I still love my team. I just very much dislike the management at this point in time. They have got to do something. They are all on the hot seat. If it does not work out, if we have another losing season, everybody's getting fired. Terry Fontenot's gone. He's not going to live long enough in Atlanta to see his dream come to fruition because he will be fired. He is now in the crosshairs of Arthur Blank, and he didn't have to be. Again, playing 4D checkers, 4D chess, the game is checkers. It was checkers. It was so easy. It was so easy. Be the first team to take a defensive player off the board and take the top defensive player you think is in this draft. Instead, we take the 4th best quarterback, maybe 5th or 6th best quarterback. Honestly, we'll see how it works out in the draft. Half of these guys aren't going to work out anyway, and we know that already. I'd rather have the top half than the bottom half of it. I'm livid. I've been livid. I had a hard time sleeping last night. I had a hard time continuing on with the draft last night. I didn't even know about some of these picks till the end until I looked at it just now. Thank you for watching. I appreciate the 218 of you who are subscribed to me now. It means the world to me. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. I got nothing else for you because I'm completely at a loss for words for this. But thank you for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing. This too shall pass, and as always, rise up.